Was this unique to you? Because we know that there are lots of Kenyans out there. There are whole cities, apparently, in the US, which are with dedicated sort of churches which conduct their affairs in some Kenyan language. Are they having a whale of a time?
No, it's really difficult. To survive in the US, you must have led a difficult life in Kenya to survive in the US. For instance, for me, I didn't have a very comfortable upbringing, so my father didn't know even where I went to school. My mother did not. I had to sell bananas, eggs, sugarcane to do that. So I had lived in Mathare Valley, when I started working. So it wasn't really something out of the usual. I knew I could survive.
I want to draw you further on this because we're hearing a lot in our papers, a comment about couples and the idea of unions in this alien society being very difficult to sustain. Now, you're of a certain generation. Maybe what was the relationship? Is it too personal to ask? How did this affect your relationship with your wife? Oh, you weren't being a real man at that time, I wouldn't imagine.
No, my wife has always been with me. Remember, she was with me when I was publishing. When I started the newspaper, she was working and financing the newspaper. When we were arrested...
But do you think other young couples are finding it that solidarity as well? Or do you see young people suffering in terms of the union?
The young people suffer because they are not honest to each other. You have to be honest. What do you have? Or what do you intend to do? And you discuss it and you do what you want to do, agreeing that that is what we should do. If you don't have similar thinking or a similar target, you are not going to survive. Young people will just separate very easily.
Let's fast forward yet again. You've come back. That was 1992. We're now in the year 2013. We've had our...
1994, actually.
Right, 1994. We've had our general elections. We have a new government. Would you be so bold as to comment on the Kenyan you find?
Actually, the first time I came since 1994 was last year in May. And I was surprised, but very happy, because I found so many radio stations, newspapers, radio stations, and the media was really free. And I was saying, if I had a society, probably I wouldn't do what the current media were doing. I was very proud. And then I found Kenyans really working very hard. They were ahead of the government in that they were doing businesses without infrastructure. But at the same time, I'm still happy that Kenyans are moving and the government will have to keep up with them.
So in other words, I mean, we oughtn't to be the sort of Maoist notion of being self-critical. We have a wonderful country, things are moving marvelously, and we ought to be happy. Is that what you're saying?
In fact, Kenyans should be very happy as to how far they have gone. First of all, they are very polite now as businesses. You'll never find a taxi driver who tells you off or a matatu tout telling you, mzee, ondoka kama utaki kwenda na hii. It's like, oh, tutaenda, we are going just now, mzee, please be patient. And the taxi drivers are very good. Can you take my telephone number, please, for next time?
Right, taken. So you're talking about in human relationships. Would you think that human relationships compared to human interaction in where you live in the US is somewhat superior?
In fact, Kenya is so superior. You can't compare it with the US. In the US, you're expected to be told, you don't go to a place because you look older, you'll be given more attention than the younger person. In Kenya, people will tend to even take you to where you want to go, take off, say, 10 minutes from where they are doing business to take you somewhere. In the US, even your friend you fed in Kenya or who stayed in your home, it's very difficult for them even to invite you for a cup of coffee.
Right, I guess because things are very expensive and life is expensive. And
life is business.
Yes, right, life is business.
Yeah.
I would like you then, that's human relations. What about the political? When you left, the political dispensation did whatever it did to you. Do you feel that, again, politically, everything is on the right track, if not wonderful?
I'm actually excited. I'm delighted to see what has gone on. Particularly...
So you didn't sort of sit there and say botched elections, BVR machines broke down. As a journalist, you didn't say this is the worst possible thing that could happen?
I was mad in 2007. But this time, because I was following Facebook, I was following the debate, I just thought Kenyans ought to know that there is no election which is perfect.
But don't you feel, there's no election, okay, taken, don't you think that there's a resurgence of things like ethnicity and tribalism? You don't feel, I'm not goading you to say that there is, I'm just interested in the viewpoint of an outsider.
By the way,
I feel that we've become more tribal than I've ever known in my own lifetime.
By the way, that's what I felt when I left. I've changed my mind because politically, the support you get is from the people around you, and they may happen to be people of your own tribe. So that is going to be the case. The only way you can eliminate it is, for instance, the current leaders trying to distribute the national wealth to everybody, whether they belong to their tribes or not. And Kenyans will soon not even care who becomes president.
That's how you feel genuinely?
That's how genuinely I feel.
Right, so you are here for a second time maybe, as you see events unfold in the implementation of our constitution. Again, nothing shocks you? No,
I'm shocked by what I saw. I saw a story about Nakuru where people were rejected, some officials were not approved, and they were sworn in.
Right.
That I was shocked.
Yeah.
But I expect Kenyans to reject those type of people. Kenyans are so free now. I'm really not afraid of this constitution being thrown away or be messed up with, because Kenyans are awake. We have younger people, they are educated, they're going to deal with the political leaders to straighten them up.
Okay, so a question about, you might have, again, from a journalistic viewpoint, what should we prioritize to create this Kenya of Vision 2030? Do you think we should make a bigger focus on culture, the arts? Do you think they are also thriving?
Now, in fact, I've just been thinking that Kenya should probably try very hard to give Swahili priority, because you go out there, people speak in their own language, that's English, and Swahili has never been given any priority anywhere. Other languages are. If you go to America, for instance, you don't know English and you know Swahili, you are not going to get an interpreter. So Kenyan should try to be proud. As I see now, the media is really trying to promote Swahili, which I like.
Right. Okay, one more. Education. Surely if we don't educate ourselves, do you know enough about what's happening on the ground to make a comment on education?
Yes. Generally, what I've heard about our education being tailored to the American style, by the way, that will be a big mistake, because I've been a substitute teacher in the US. I've also taught at the university. The university is okay, but the elementary or primary up to secondary school, there is no discipline there. So if Kenyans want to copy the American style, they should make sure the current discipline remains, or else we are going to have also people who are not educated.
What do you mean by discipline? Do you sort of corporal punishment, or what is it? What's discipline in what sense?
Not corporal punishment.
Right.
A kid at school should not be made to feel that he or she is the one who makes the decision as to what a teacher should do in class. I give you an example of a teacher who tries to talk about slavery in America in a secondary school. And a young lady, black lady, stands up and complains, and the teacher apologizes. And I'm in that class, I told that teacher later, why should you apologize? If this young girl doesn't want to hear about slavery because you are white and she's black, you should ask her to go to a different class and stay there until you finish your lesson.
Right, so all in all, you are positive about our condition now.
Our education is good.
Right. I would like the very last question to say, is it so good that you, Pius Nyamora, would contemplate coming back home, so to speak?
I really love Kenya, but the problem is I lost my house at Runda. I lost my business. Now, coming to Kenya again, I'll have to start all over again. I'll start life all over again, although it will be much easier here than in the US. Secondly, Kenyans are now changed, and I'm not going to be frustrated by the situation I see here. So I'll be a happy person. Probably once I retire in America, with my retiring age reaching 65, I might decide, oh, I'm going to live in Kenya most of the time and come back to the US a few months of a year. So coming to Kenya is a possibility, coming to live in Kenya later.
Pius Nyamora, Kenyan journalist, thank you very much for coming on the JSO interview.
Thank you.